Now, one thing in defense of evolution, there's a guy named Richard Linsky, he did, and still is doing the experiment. Took him 25 years, he observed bacteria, and he would feed them certain things so they would survive. 60,000 generations of bacteria. Bacteria reproduce like, real quick, not that quick, but just by cell division. The claims were made in this experiment that one string of E. coli bacteria gained the ability to ingest citrates by mutation and grew faster. Nobody argues with that outcome of that, it happened. A citrate is just a certain type of organic material that I guess it has to do with fruit, citrus. Claim number 2, this change required at least 3 beneficial mutations. That's the claim that it made. I'm not arguing, nobody's arguing with that either. Here's the point though. If you study his experiments, although the experiment was scientific, no question about it, the beneficial mutation did not increase the size of the genetic code. The mutations only rearranged existing code. There was no increase in the code size, which is in keeping with what I said about beneficial mutations have never been observed to increase the size of the genome. That happened. And by the way, if that's true, evolution is a farce. Another defense of evolution, strains of disease-causing bacteria have developed by mutation a resistance to penicillin. It's a fact. Genetic resistance to penicillin was actually decreased in genetic information. In other words, the genetic code of the bacteria after the mutation was less. It just missed it somehow, and this is kind of just real generic saying of it. They forgot that penicillin, genetically forgot that penicillin could kill it. So it lost some genetic information. That's a fact. Richard Linsky experiment took over 25 years and were very, quote, intelligently designed experiments. He did it very intelligently. He made things happen. After over 60,000 generations of E. coli bacteria, there's still E. coli bacteria. Natural selection, prediction number 1. If natural selection as defined by the theory of macroevolution is true, then the organisms more fit to reproduce will survive and pass on their superior genetics to their offspring. Well, that's circular reasoning. If you defend, and they define more fit is the organism that survives. Can't argue with that. If you define the organism as more fit if it survives, then by golly, that's right. How can you argue with that? This implies that the survivor had beneficial mutations passed on to it, and that the genetic coded information had been increased, leading to macroevolution. You can't get to macroevolution without an increase in the genetic information. As stated before, this phenomenon has never been observed, not tested, not scientific. Let's move on to homology. What's the definition? It means a likeness in structure between parts of different organisms, as the wing of a bat and the human arm, due to evolutionary differentiation from a corresponding part in a common ancestor. Okay, this is the position that evolution would take, theory of evolution, based on what homology is. So that means we're homologous in a lot of things. Almost all mammals. Rats, mice, they got 2 eyes. They got, I guess they have 2 lungs. We have 2 lungs. They probably do. But we're all alike in our structure. Agreed. Nobody argues with that point. But this is the definition of homology as defined by evolutionary theory. You can see some things over there. Let's see. That's a human. That's a dog. That's a something. And I think that might be a well flipper. Those are the actual skeletal structures. Homology, prediction number 1. Many mammals have similarity to skeletal structure, therefore all mammals have a common ancestor. Interesting story. This is a good argument for macroevolution. I agree. Looks kind of like it could possibly have happened because it's so similar, right? But common ancestry is not indicated by the scientific data. Same story. You don't have any increase in genetic information. Homology would also be predicted by the theory of intelligent design. Why would you design animals that did basically the same stuff differently if you were an intelligent designer? Common design. So, although this prediction may be, I guess, strong, it's also predicted by intelligent design theorists. Okay, let's pretend you're a gifted mechanical engineer and you were commissioned to design the first automobile. First of all, I have a degree in mechanical engineering and I had never worked on an automobile. And I would never want you would not want me to work on your automobile because I had no idea what to do with it. I know how it works, but I can't do anything with it. And you were commissioned to design the first automobile. Being as brilliant as you are, eventually you would design something with the basic components: engine, wheels, brakes, fuel control, electrical system, steering frame, bearing to exhaust. Because they're telling you, we could put this in this object and you can go down the road and you go really fast down the path. It might not be a road there. You go really fast. How would you design it? Well, the first engineers designed the automobile this way. They knew they had to have certain characteristics. Your design was so successful, you were asked to design a motorcycle, a golf cart, and an airplane. Because they knew that the villages was going to be built and they needed golf carts. So they said, hey, give us some golf carts. What you do is you still put the same thing in it. You design it basically the same with a lot of differences. You would not start from scratch. You could slightly modify your previous design. Same components, different purposes. So there is a real life example of how you would have homology. What makes sense if you're a designer, you design things to work similar.